A song in the hallway. The Veterans Hospital lights buzzed overhead, a mechanical counterpoint to the nascent tune blooming within Lily May Bloom. Entering, she navigated the automatic doors, the blend of disinfectant and simmering cabbage a familiar, almost welcome scent. "Morning, Gladys," she called, her voice a bright spark against the subdued atmosphere of the reception area. Gladys, a sturdy woman radiating weary amusement, barely lifted her gaze from her crossword. "Lily May, you're a regular ray of sunshine. Thompson's on your docket. Prepare yourself." Lily's smile wavered for a fleeting instant. Arthur Thompson presented a unique set of challenges. He was a man hewn from flinty obstinacy, residing in room 312 with a voice that could sour cream. "Thanks for the heads up, Gladys. Perhaps an extra spoonful of sugar for his morning brew?" Gladys chuckled, a dry, papery sound. "Sugar wouldn't sweeten that one, dear. Best of luck." Shedding her coat in the crowded staff room, Lily encountered the usual morning symphony, nurses swapping updates, sharing whispers, and bracing themselves for the hours ahead. She collected her chart and a fresh notepad, the pristine paper offering a sliver of solace. As she headed for the patient wing, a gentle melody began to stir within. It was an old folk song, one her grandmother used to hum while prepping bread dough. A simple, uplifting refrain that spoke of warmth and belonging. Subconsciously, she began to hum, until a patient in a wheelchair offered a kind smile, eyes crinkling. She proceeded on her rounds, monitoring conditions, dispensing medications, offering a kind word or a gentle touch. Each patient unfolded as a unique world, a rich tapestry woven with threads of courage, sorrow, and resilience. Lily endeavored to greet each one with unwavering optimism, a miniature sunbeam in the often gloomy corridors. Nearing room 312, the melody grew bolder, almost as a subconscious bracing maneuver. Pausing at the entrance, she inhaled deeply, composing her brightest smile. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she announced, pushing the door inward. The room was shrouded in dimness, the curtains tightly drawn against the sun's intrusion. The air hung heavy with the stale tang of antiseptic, laced with something else, a subtle hint of solitude, perhaps? Mr. Thompson lay propped against his pillows, his face a craggy map of lines and shadows. Piercing blue eyes narrowed, locking onto Lily. He resembled a retired mariner, weathered and worn, yet with a flicker of fierce spirit still glowing. Offering no reply, he simply stared with unnerving intensity. Undeterred, Lily stepped briskly into the room, maintaining her cheerful tone. "How are we feeling this morning, Mr. Thompson? A restful night?" He grunted, a sound open to interpretation, possibly indicating displeasure or a desire for solitude. Lily disregarded it. She was seasoned to his gruffness. It served as a defense, she suspected, a method to hold the world at arm's length. Striding to the window, she swept the curtains aside, allowing sunlight to flood the space. "Let's introduce some sunshine," she declared, her tone unwavering. "Vitamin D does wonders, you know." Mr. Thompson flinched at the sudden burst of light. "Kill that damn thing," he rasped, his voice like coarse gravel. Lily adjusted the drapes, softening the intensity. "Is that better?" she inquired, turning back. No response came, only his persistent glare. Lily sighed inwardly. This promised to be a trying morning. She consulted his chart, reviewing his vital statistics. Blood pressure's a tad elevated, she noted, more to herself than to him. And a slight temperature. "Are you experiencing any discomfort, Mr. Thompson?" He shifted against the pillows, a subtle give indicating his unease. "Just get on with it," he muttered. "And can that infernal humming?" Lily blinked, caught off guard. She hadn't even registered humming again. It was merely a nervous tick, a mechanism for filling the void and calming her inner anxieties. "I apologize, Mr. Thompson," she replied, her voice hushed. "I was unaware I was bothering you." "Bothering is putting it mildly," he retorted. It's like having a friggin' songbird trapped in my skull. Lily's cheeks flushed. Criticism was commonplace, but his words carried a sharp sting. Possibly the venom in his tone, or perhaps the fact that she was genuinely trying to be helpful. "I'll make an effort to be quieter," she managed, her voice barely audible. She busied herself with monitoring his foredrip, averting his gaze. The quiet grew thick and oppressive, broken only by the steady beep of the heart monitor. Lily felt a queasy knot forming in her stomach. She abhorred conflict, loathed the sensation of being disliked. Her sole desire was to alleviate suffering, to inject a little joy into their lives. Yet, with Mr. Thompson, it felt like an insurmountable task. Concluding her assessment, her hands trembled slightly. She jotted notes on his chart, then prepared to depart. "Anything else I can do for you, Mr. Thompson?" she asked, her voice hesitant. He offered no reply, simply staring at the ceiling. Lily drew a calming breath and moved towards the door. Upon reaching the hallway, the melody resurfaced, almost of its own accord. This time, a doleful ballad her father favored on rainy evenings. "Danny boy." The note seemed to well up from the depths of her spirit, a lament for loves lost and memories fading. She sang quietly, barely audible, her voice mingling with the hum of the hospital's machinery. It wasn't a concert performance, merely a muted expression of the emotions churning within. She remained unaware Mr. Thompson could hear her until his voice, raspy and feeble, called from within the room. "Wait." Lily froze, her heart hammering. She slowly pivoted back, her eyes wide with surprise. Mr. Thompson remained supine, his gaze fixed upon her. His expression was difficult to read, something beyond anger or irritation, softer, almost vulnerable. "Sing it again," he directed, his voice barely a whisper. "Sing that song again." Lily hesitated. Could she have misheard? You want me to sing?" He offered a slight nod. "Please," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Just, sing it." Lily inhaled deeply and closed her eyes. She allowed the melody to engulf her, to wash over her and transport her. She sang "Danny Boy," her voice clear and pure, imbued with a yearning she hadn't known she possessed. As she sang, she felt the tension begin to dissipate. The knot in her stomach unraveled, and a sense of tranquility washed over her. She wasn't solely singing for Mr. Thompson, but for herself, for her grandmother, for her father, for all the lost souls who yearned for home. When the final note faded, the silence in the room was profound. Lily opened her eyes and met Mr. Thompson's gaze. His eyes were closed, and a single tear traced a path down his wrinkled cheek. Lily remained silent, waiting. After a long moment, Mr. Thompson opened his eyes and looked at her. "Thank you," he rasped, his voice hoarse. That was beautiful." Lily smiled, a genuine smile that lit her eyes. "You're welcome, Mr. Thompson," she replied softly. "I'm glad you enjoyed it." Turning, she departed the room, a sense of lightness buoying her steps. Down the hallway, she could still hear echoes of the song, a tiny beacon of hope in the sterile environment. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could make a difference, one song at a time. The grumpy old soldier. The medication cart, a cacophony of squeaks, announced Lily's arrival on the ward each morning. Beneath her starched uniform, a nervous energy, brewed from caffeine and anticipation, churned. Today, Mr. Thompson's room loomed first. Their interaction the previous day, despite a poignant revelation, had unsettled her, leaving her feeling unexpectedly exposed. His sudden vulnerability had thrown her off balance. Now, the prospect of facing him again hung heavy. Pausing at his door, she inhaled deeply, summoning her most cheerful facade. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she called, swinging the door inward. He sat motionless, a dark shape against the luminous window, lost in the dawn. "Morning," he muttered, the sound barely escaping his lips. Determinedly, Lily ignored his lack of warmth and bustled in. "How are we feeling this morning? A bit brighter than yesterday, perhaps?" She busied herself with his chart, avoiding his gaze. "Just older," he rasped, still staring outward. "Nothing changes." A nervous chuckle escaped Lily. "Well, time marches on, doesn't it? But we can still enjoy the journey. How about we start with your meds? And maybe, some music?" The suggestion felt awkward as soon as it left her mouth. He finally swiveled his head, a skeptical light in his eyes. "Music? What's the point? Trying to speed things along?" "Absolutely not." Lily responded a touch too quickly. "I just thought. Danny Boy seemed to resonate with you yesterday. Perhaps a few more tunes from your generation might brighten your day." She carefully measured his dosage, keeping her eyes downcast. He watched her, silent and assessing. "You're an odd one, Bloom," he finally declared. "Why do you bother expending the effort?" Her pulse quickened. Sincere curiosity, or another test? She opted for honesty. "Because, everyone deserves a little comfort, particularly when things are tough. Anne. I enjoy singing." A small, self-conscious smile flickered across her face. He snorted derisively. "Comfort? What good is comfort when you're staring into the abyss?" "It's something," Lily countered gently, surprised by the conviction in her own voice. "It's a reminder that beauty persists, even in the face of hardship." She offered him the water and pills. He swallowed them grimly, then turned back to the window. On impulse, Lily retrieved a small speaker from her pocket. "How about this one? It's a long way to Tipperary." She pressed play, and the vintage melody tinkled into the air. Mr. Thompson remained still, his back stubbornly turned. Lily scrutinized him, searching for a reaction. Nothing. Complete indifference. Disappointment washed over her. Perhaps she'd misjudged him entirely. Maybe he craved solitude in his despair. Her hand hovered over the off button, but then she paused. She recalled the brief flash of emotion from yesterday, the tremor in his hand during Danny Boy. She couldn't surrender so easily. Clearing her throat, she began to sing softly, her voice harmonizing with the antiquated recording. "It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go." Still no response. She continued, her voice strengthening as she transitioned into Vera Lynn's "We'll Meet Again." A song etched into her memory from her grandmother's countless renditions, filled with melancholy and resilient optimism. "We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when." Mr. Thompson shifted in his armchair. Lily's breath caught, but she kept singing, unwilling to break whatever fragile connection might be forming. "But I know we'll meet again some sunny day." He finally turned, his eyes narrowed, his expression unreadable. Not anger, not joy. Something else. Complex, indecipherable. Lily met his gaze, her voice wavering slightly. She switched to a different tune, one her grandfather had often whistled while tending his garden, "Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag." A cheerfully defiant song, intended to buoy soldiers facing adversity. As she sang the chorus, she saw it. A flicker. A subtle spark of recognition in his eyes. He didn't smile, he didn't comment, but his face softened. The rigid lines around his mouth eased, the tension in his jaw dissipated. He was listening. Truly listening. Encouraged, Lily poured her heart into the song, imagining him as a young soldier, trudging through muddy fields, bearing the weight of the world, sustained only by the hope of returning home. When the music ceased, the room fell silent. Lily held her breath, awaiting his response. He remained quiet for a long moment. Finally, he turned back to the window, his gaze lost on the distant horizon. "My brother," he murmured, his voice a bare whisper. "He used to sing that song. Before he was gone." Lily's heart ached with empathy. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know." He didn't acknowledge her words. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken sorrow. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, he spoke again. "Play it again," he said, his voice gravelly but surprisingly vulnerable. Pack up your troubles again." Echoes of the past. "Again?" Lily queried, a touch winded. While the previous night's impromptu concert had invigorated her, it had also starkly illuminated her vocal limitations. Mr. Thompson's gaze, surprisingly alert despite the deep creases lining his face, danced with a hint of amusement. "If you're amenable, lass. Got a request percolating." Lily settled on the chair's edge, its plastic protesting with a groan. "Lay it on me." "It's a long haul," he rasped, clearing his throat. "It's a long way to Tipperary." Lily's brow knitted together. Tipperary. A scrap of melody flickered in her memory, something light-hearted and from a bygone era. I don't believe that's in my repertoire, Mr. Thompson." He grunted, a sound pregnant with possible meanings. "War tune. Great War. Before all this." He swept a frail hand, taking in the antiseptic room, the institution, the whole blasted world. "I can research it," Lily offered, fishing out her phone. "Lyrics are easily accessible online." Mr. Thompson dismissed her suggestion with a wave. "Words ain't the crux of it. It's the sensation." His gaze drifted to the window, where a sliver of leaden sky showed. The march. The brotherhood. The dread. Lily stared, a knot forming in her throat. He wasn't just after a song, it was a doorway. "I'll give it my utmost," she replied softly. That evening, her shift concluded, Lily detoured. She found herself drawn to the hushed sanctuary of The Old Melody, a second-hand record emporium tucked down a side street. The atmosphere was thick with the aroma of aged vinyl, and dust motes pirouetted in sunbeams filtering through the smudged glass. The proprietor, a wizened man christened Mr. Abernathy who looked as though he'd been shelving records since the dawn of civilization, peered at her over the crest of his spectacles. "Seeking anything particular, my dear?" "Indeed," Lily responded. I need to familiarize myself with some vintage war songs. From the First World War." A glint of genuine fervor ignited in Mr. Abernathy's eyes. Ah, the Great War. Now there was music. Patriotic fervor intertwined with bittersweet melodies. Come, come." He gestured her onward into the labyrinthine aisles. He unearthed a stack of time-worn 78s, their labels faded and fragile. He presented her with a record in a battered sleeve depicting soldiers advancing beneath a frayed banner. "It's a Long Way to Tipperary. A cornerstone. Sung by everyone from the troops entrenched in the muddy fields to the luminaries of the music halls back home." Lily accepted the record reverently, her fingers tracing the grooves. "Do you possess any recordings?" "I require to actually hear it performed." Mr. Abernathy grinned, revealing surprisingly bright teeth. "My dear, I'm a veritable repository." He guided her to a listening booth, an antique turntable connected to headphones of similar vintage. He carefully placed the disc, lowered the needle, and a crackling, yet undeniably cheerful, melody surged into the air. Lily listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. The tune was straightforward, cyclical, but undeniably infectious. She pictured the soldiers on the move, their boots impacting the sodden earth, their voices a united front against the fear and uncertainty. She sampled different renditions, each bearing its own unique imprint. She bought a CD anthology of wartime ballads Mr. Abernathy commended, feeling a growing weight of responsibility. This transcended a mere song, it was about bridging a chasm to a man's past, his memories, his very core. Back in her cramped apartment, Lily devoted hours to studying the lyrics and melodies. She rehearsed until her voice became raspy, striving to capture not just the notes but the very essence of the song. She researched its historical context, learning about the Irish regiment it was first linked to and its widespread appropriation by soldiers from every Allied nation on the Western Front. She even uncovered a Gaelic choral version. The following morning, Lily entered Mr. Thompson's room imbued with a refreshed determination. She felt less like a dutiful nurse and more like a courier, bearing a fragment of history. Mr. Thompson was conscious, though his eyes remained shut. His breaths were shallow and erratic. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Lily murmured. His eyelids fluttered open. "Lily May. You've returned." "Indeed," she said, smiling. "And I believe I've mastered Tipperary." He offered no reply, only a gradual nod. Lily inhaled deeply and commenced to sing. Her voice was still a little unstable, but she channeled all her energy into the rendition. She endeavored to imagine herself side by side with those soldiers, experiencing their camaraderie, their trepidation, their flicker of hope. "It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye Piccadilly, farewell Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there." When she concluded, the room fell silent. Lily waited, her heart drumming in her chest. Finally, Mr. Thompson spoke. His voice was a mere breath. "Piccadilly." Lily leaned closer. "Yes, Mr. Thompson." "Met her there," he whispered, his gaze still riveted on the pale sky. "During leave. Ruby. Auburn hair, laughter like wind chimes." A faint smile ghosted his lips, a spectral memory. "We danced. Just one evening. Aerial bombardment the next day. Never crossed paths again." The knot in Lily's throat clenched tighter than before. It wasn't merely a song, it was a bygone love, a transient moment of joy snatched from the jaws of war. "I'm deeply sorry, Mr. Thompson," she uttered, her voice thick with sentiment. He offered a slight shake of his head. "Don't be. Good to reminisce. Good to hear it anew." He closed his eyes. "Sing another." Lily hesitated. She was emotionally depleted, her voice felt raw. But she found herself incapable of denying him. "What would bring you comfort?" "Something gentler," he murmured. "Something reminiscent of home." Lily paused for a moment. "How about Danny Boy?" A solitary tear broke free from under Mr. Thompson's sealed eyelid and etched a path down his time-worn cheek. He remained silent, yet Lily discerned her answer. She began to sing, her voice imbued with a soft melancholy, a tender yearning for a home that may no longer exist, for a love that had been lost but never erased. As she sang, her gaze settled on a figure standing silently in the doorway. It was a woman, middle-aged, her face drawn, a designer purse hanging from her shoulder. Lily recognized her as one of Mr. Thompson's kin, the one who had been so insistent about the arrangements regarding his will. The woman observed Lily's performance, her face an inscrutable mask. But as Lily completed the final verse, a flicker traversed the woman's eyes, a brief window into vulnerability before the hardened facade sealed back into place. The woman pivoted and glided away, vanishing down the corridor. Lily pondered the weight of that fleeting moment. And she wondered about the true motives of the woman and the rest of Mr. Thompson's family. All she knew was that in that instant, crooning those antique songs, she felt more connected to Mr. Thompson than they could ever possibly be. Sharing stories. The sun, a diluted gold spilling over the sill and onto the linoleum, greeted Lily as she plumped Mr. Thompson's pillows. A flicker of awareness brightened his gaze, a welcome change from the dullness she'd grown accustomed to. Their shared song from the previous evening had clearly stirred something within him, loosening the grip of his silence. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she chirped, injecting a playful lilt into her tone. "Ready to greet the day?" A grunt served as his reply, accompanied by the faintest upturn of his lips. As ready as an old dog can be, lass. Lily consulted his chart, relieved to see stable vitals. That's the spirit. The doctor will be around later, but for now, just take it easy. She paused, toying with her stethoscope. You know, you never did explain. Tipperary, why that particular tune? He averted his gaze, fixated on the cityscape muted by the hazy light. It's a window to another time. A less tangled time, in a way. Sensing an untold story yearning to be released, Lily patiently waited. She drew up a chair, positioning herself for direct eye contact. Everyone carries their history, Mr. Thompson. If you feel like sharing a chapter, he sighed, a protracted exhalation that resonated with the weight of decades. I was just a green lad, barely past my 18th birthday, when they shipped us overseas. Brimming with foolish courage, convinced of my own immortality. Tipperary, that was the anthem we clung to. Marching, sailing, even cowering in those godforsaken trenches. It was our lifeline to something familiar, something human. Lily conjured the image, callow youths, wrenched from everything they knew, facing horrors beyond comprehension, tethered to a simple melody for comfort. She imagined art in their ranks, bravado a flimsy shield against the abyss. Did you ever actually reach Tipperary? She inquired softly. A rasping chuckle escaped him, devoid of mirth. Never made it that far. Landed in France, mired in mud and worse. Silence descended, his focus lost in a distant landscape only he could see. Witness things that should never stain a young man's eyes. He shifted, a wince betraying a flare of pain. Lily reached for the morphine pump, adjusting the dosage. Would you like something to ease the pain, Mr. Thompson? Just a yarn, lass. Just a yarn. His eyelids fluttered shut, and for a fleeting moment, Lily believed he had succumbed to slumber. But then, his voice, fragile as spun glass, broke the silence. There was this one time. We were pinned down for what felt like an eternity. Shells raining down, no rations, no water. We were all convinced our time had come. This boy, barely 16, began to sob for his mother. Incessantly. It frayed what little sanity we had left. He paused, visibly struggling to swallow. Then, without warning, a shell found its mark right beside him. He didn't even get the chance to scream. Lily's heart twisted with empathy. She gently clasped his hand, offering silent reassurance. His eyes flickered open, finding hers. That's the essence of war, lass. It snatches innocence, devours it whole, and spits out the remnants. Lily squeezed his hand in solidarity. It sounds unspeakable. It was, he affirmed simply. And the cruelest irony is, I survived. Lived a long life. But I carry the memory of that boy. The faces of them all. The silence returned, thick with unspoken grief. Lily remained at his side, her presence a quiet solace. After a time, he stirred, a flicker of his former gruffness returning. Enough of my grim recollections, he declared. What about yourself, lass? What sets your soul alight? Lily blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift in topic. My aspirations, she echoed. Your aspirations. What does a bright spark like you crave from this life? Lily hesitated, feeling a peculiar vulnerability in sharing her dreams with this weathered old man, yet his genuine curiosity disarmed her. Well, she began, I've always been drawn to singing. Ever since childhood. I even lend my voice to the choir at church. So, you harbor ambitions of becoming a songbird, eh? A blush rose to her cheeks, self-conscious of her own aspirations. I'd love to perform professionally, yes. On a grand stage, perhaps. Or fronting a band. But it's merely a whimsical notion, I suppose. Hardly practical. Mr. Thompson snorted, dismissing her hesitation. Practicality is a cage. If a dream takes flight in your heart, you must chase it relentlessly. Don't let anyone clip your wings. He paused, his gaze softening. I once had dreams of my own, you know. Before the war stole them. I yearned to be an architect. To sketch blueprints of magnificent buildings, to sculpt breathtaking spaces. That chance never came to pass. Lily felt a surge of compassion for him. Another dream, crushed beneath the weight of circumstance. It's not too late to find beauty, Mr. Thompson, she countered gently. You can still marvel at architectural wonders. You can still find solace in melody. A genuine smile graced his features, crinkling the corners of his eyes. Perhaps you have a point, lass. Perhaps. He regarded her with anticipation. Sing for me, then. Lily glanced around, suddenly feeling exposed. Now? In this setting? Why delay? The physician is still absent, and my spirits could use a lift. Lily offered a nervous laugh. All right, all right. She racked her brain for a suitable song, something uplifting yet not excessively sentimental. She settled on Danny Boy, a melody whose haunting beauty never failed to resonate within her. She inhaled deeply and began to sing, her voice clear and tender. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen, and down the mountainside. As she poured her heart into the song, she watched Mr. Thompson's face. His eyes were closed once more, but this time, a serene expression graced his features. It was as if the music was acting as a portal, transporting him to a realm of tranquility and grace. When the final note faded, a profound silence hung in the air. Then, Mr. Thompson opened his eyes, a solitary tear etching a silvery trail down his time-worn cheek. Exquisite, he breathed. Absolutely exquisite. Lily beamed, her heart overflowing. It was more than mere melody, it was the communion, the shared vulnerability, the simple, powerful act of human connection. In that instant, she felt she was making a profound difference, not simply as a caregiver, but as a fellow human being. The door swung inward, and the same woman from the previous evening materialized, her demeanor as frigid as ever. I see you're awake, Arthur, she stated, her voice devoid of warmth. The solicitor will be here this afternoon to discuss the will. The tranquility that had settled over Mr. Thompson vanished, replaced by a cloud of darkness. He turned away, his gaze fixed on the window, his face a mask of weariness. A surge of indignation swept through Lily. How could this woman be so insensitive? So consumed by financial matters at such a delicate time? She rose to her feet, her voice firm. Mr. Thompson requires rest. Perhaps you could return at a later hour? The woman shot her a venomous glare. I am his niece. I am entitled to be present. And I am his nurse, Lily retorted, and his immediate need is for tranquility and peace. The woman hesitated, then scoffed and turned to depart. Fine, she conceded. But don't imagine you'll gain anything from this. You're just a hired hand. Lily watched her retreat, her fists clenched in frustration. She turned back to Mr. Thompson, her heart aching for him. He remained gazing out the window, his features etched with melancholy. Don't let her words wound you, Mr. Thompson, Lily said gently. She simply doesn't comprehend. He sighed, a sound heavy with resignation. She never has, lass. Never will. He looked at Lily, a flicker of gratitude illuminating his eyes. But you understand. And that is more than sufficient. Fading away. The air in the corridor was thick with foreboding as Lily began her shift, an invisible blanket smothering her usual cheer. She willed herself to shake it off, forcing a smile as she approached room 312, Mr. Thompson's room. A knot tightened in her stomach. Pausing at the door, she inhaled deeply, recalling yesterday's tense exchange between the old man and his niece. She hoped it hadn't taken too great a toll. Pushing the door open, she immediately sensed a profound wrongness. Mr. Thompson lay motionless, eerily still. His breathing was shallow, almost imperceptible, and his skin, normally flushed with a robust color despite his age, was now tinged with a sickly gray. The room, usually redolent with the comforting scents of old spice and disinfectant, was stale and airless. "Mr. Thompson?" Lily murmured, her voice barely audible. Her pulse quickened as she approached the bedside. "It's Lily." No response. His eyes remained shut, his mouth slightly agape, a glisten of saliva clinging to the corner. Panic began to constrict her throat. Her fingers, suddenly clumsy, fumbled for the call button. Dr. Davies needed to come, urgently. Within moments, Dr. Davies appeared, his brow creased in concern. He conducted his examination with practiced efficiency, the cold metal of his stethoscope briefly touching the old man's chest. After checking his pulse and pupils, he straightened up, his expression grave. "He's failing, Lily," he stated, his voice hushed and solemn. "His vitals are extremely weak. Time is short." The word struck Lily with brutal force. She recoiled, her hand instinctively flying to her mouth. "No," she breathed, the denial automatic. He was talking just yesterday. We even sang together." Dr. Davies placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I know, Lily. But he was incredibly frail. This was always a possibility." He sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I'll notify his family." A faint edge of bitterness sharpened Lily's tone. "His niece?" she inquired. "Yes. She's his next of kin." He offered a look of understanding. "Just try to keep him comfortable, Lily. Ensure he's pain-free." He departed, leaving Lily alone with Mr. Thompson. She drew a chair close to the bed, her gaze locked on his still features. She couldn't reconcile herself to it. Only yesterday, he'd seemed so vibrant, so animated with stories of the past. Now, he was slipping away like sand through her fingers. Tears began to well up, blurring her vision. Reaching out, she gently enfolded his hand in hers. The skin felt thin and cold, a far cry from the strong, weathered hand that had gripped hers with such warmth only hours before. "Mr. Thompson," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "It's Lily. I'm here with you." Whether he could hear her or not, she felt compelled to speak. To be present in his final moments. She was flooded with all the things she wished she had asked, all the stories she longed to hear. His youth, his experiences during the war, his dreams. But the time for inquiries had passed. Now was a time for solace, for tranquility. Gently squeezing his hand, she began to sing. Tentatively at first, she started with "Danny Boy," the melody that had unlocked so many dormant memories within him. Her voice trembled with emotion, but she persevered, channeling all her affection and care into the song. "Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen, and down the mountain side." She watched his face as she sang, searching for any sign. There was no visible reaction, no flicker of recognition. Yet she continued, her voice gaining strength and confidence. "The summer's gone, and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide." She sang of love and loss, of yearning and hope, of peace and redemption. She sang for Mr. Thompson, for the spirited young soldier he once was, for the venerable old man he had become. She sang until her throat grew sore, until her eyes were dry, filling the room with her voice, a final serenade for a departing soul. When "Danny Boy" concluded, she transitioned to other melodies, cherished hymns and folk songs reminiscent of her grandmother's repertoire. She sang of verdant fields and azure skies, of guardian angels and revered saints, of a promised paradise awaiting beyond this mortal realm. Hours drifted by. The sun began its descent, casting elongated shadows across the room. Lily remained steadfastly by his side, clasping his hand, singing softly. Scared to disturb the delicate connection between them, she moved as little as possible. At one point, Dr. Davies returned, his face lined with concern. He re-examined Mr. Thompson, then offered a sorrowful shake of his head. "His breathing is becoming more labored," he murmured. "He likely doesn't have much longer." Lily nodded, her gaze unwavering from Mr. Thompson's face. She understood. She could sense it. Dr. Davies gave her a sympathetic smile. "You're providing immense comfort, Lily," he acknowledged. "He's fortunate to have you here." He withdrew once more, leaving her alone with Mr. Thompson as the light continued to fade. As the last vestiges of sunlight vanished below the horizon, Lily felt a subtle shift in Mr. Thompson's hand. The grip, which had been slack and unresponsive, tightened ever so slightly. She glanced down at his face. His eyes remained closed, but his lips were subtly moving. He was trying to speak. Leaning closer, Lily strained to catch his words. "What is it, Mr. Thompson?" she whispered. "What are you trying to say?" His voice was barely audible, a raspy whisper emanating from the depths of his being. "Lily," he rasped. "Thank you." Then, his grip relaxed, and his hand went limp once more. His chest rose and fell in a final, shallow breath, then stilled forever. Lily remained there for a long moment, cradling his hand, her heart aching with sorrow. He was gone. The curmudgeonly old man with the hidden depths, the man who had imparted so much wisdom about life and loss, was gone. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, attempting to regain her composure. She needed to be strong. She needed to be brave. She needed to hold on to the cherished memories, the shared laughter, the music they had made together. Opening her eyes, she gazed upon Mr. Thompson's face one last time. A subtle smile graced his lips. He appeared serene, finally at peace. Lily leaned down and gently kissed his forehead. "Goodbye, Mr. Thompson," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." Then, she rose to her feet, smoothed her uniform, and exited the room. Her heart was heavy with grief, but her spirit remained resilient. She had done all within her power. She had offered him comfort, solace, and love. And in the end, that was all that truly mattered. As she walked down the corridor, she could almost hear a distant echo of "Danny Boy" playing in her mind. A poignant melody, both sorrowful and beautiful. It would forever remind her of Mr. Thompson, the man who had shown her the healing power of music. One last song. The morning's bite nipped at Lily as she traversed the corridor, the cold linoleum a stark contrast to her practical shoes. Wardby resonated with the hushed symphony of monitors and subdued respiration, a pre-dawn chorus. Mr. Thompson was her first patient. A familiar unease coiled in her gut. Yesterday he'd seemed profoundly frail, his breaths shallow and strained. Pausing before his door, she inhaled deeply, summoning a hopeful smile. It felt tenuous, barely affixed. With a bracing resolve, she pushed the portal ajar. Dimness reigned, pierced by the faint green glow of the cardiac display and a shard of moon slicing through the blinds. Mr. Thompson was motionless, his face a pallid mask against the crisp white linen. His chest barely stirred. He seemed diminished, even more vulnerable. Lily approached gingerly. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she murmured, her voice a bare thread. Silence answered. She reached for his hand, her fingers enveloping skin like parchment. An icy touch. A wave of queasiness threatened. She sought his pulse, finding it faint and erratic. The monitor corroborated her fear, his heart faltered. Panic surged, yet she quelled it. This was the precipice. He was departing. Her gaze drifted, settling on the antique music box. Stillness. Silence. An idea sparked, fervent and desperate. She cranked the mechanism, the gears whirring softly in the stillness before unleashing a generic lullaby. Too trite. That wouldn't do. He needed something more personal, something resonant. She cleared her throat, a rasping sound. She hadn't serenaded him yesterday, not truly. Fear had held her captive, the end looming too large. Regret stung. Now, fear held no sway. Only the raw need to offer solace, a final connection. Another deep breath, eyes closed, and she began. "Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling." Her voice trembled initially, edged with raw emotion. But as she continued, the melody solidified, her voice growing stronger. She infused the song with her sadness, her compassion, her affection. From glen to glen, and down the mountainside, tears blurred her vision, unchecked, tracing warm paths down her chilled cheeks. She focused on his features, seeking a flicker of recognition. His eyes remained closed, his expression tranquil, almost beatific. Was he even aware? She pressed on, her voice thick with emotion. "The summer's gone, and all the roses falling," the lyrics echoed the pervasive sense of loss. The summer of their unexpected bond was drawing to a close. The roses of shared moments were withering. Approaching the final verse, she felt a subtle pressure on her hand. Mr. Thompson's fingers, feeble though they were, gave hers a faint squeeze. A jolt of hope. He was present. He was listening. "But come ye back when summer's in the meadow," her voice cracked, but she persevered, determined to complete her offering. "Or when the valley's hushed and white with snow," she watched him intently, her breath suspended. He appeared so breakable, so exposed. "And I'll be there in sunshine or in shadow." Her voice wavered. She struggled to maintain composure. "Oh, Danny boy, I love you so." As the last note dissipated into the quiet, a subtle smile graced Mr. Thompson's lips. A fleeting, delicate expression of peace, contentment, gratitude. Then, his chest stilled. The gentle rise and fall ceased. The cardiac monitor emitted a sustained, mournful tone, its flat line a stark testament. Lily remained holding his hand, tears flowing freely, silently. The room filled with a profound quiet, punctuated only by the soft hum of machines. Yet, to Lily, it was the silence following a final, exquisite cadence. A chord resonating with love, with loss, with the bittersweet symphony of a life lived and a connection forged. She lingered, clasping his hand, murmuring unspoken farewells. Dawn broke, painting the room in a golden, ethereal light that filtered through the blinds. Eventually, she knew she had to depart. She relinquished his hand gently, her fingers lingering for a moment before releasing their grip. She rose, her legs unsteady, her heart leaden. Pausing at the doorway, she glanced back at Mr. Thompson, his countenance still serene, bathed in the morning's glow. "Goodbye, Mr. Thompson," she whispered. "Thank you, for everything." She turned and exited, leaving him to the peace he had finally embraced. The weight of grief settled over her. Yet, beneath the sorrow, a spark of warmth endured. She had been present, during his final passage. She had offered solace, sung him on his journey. And in doing so, she had discovered a small measure of comfort for herself. Later, following the somber declarations and hushed dialogues, after the nurses had quietly prepared Mr. Thompson's body, Lily found herself drawn back to his room. It stood barren, stripped, the bed meticulously made. All that lingered was the faint hospital scent and the spectral echo of "Danny boy." She picked up the wind-up music box, turning it thoughtfully in her hands. It felt cold and inert. She wound it, listening to the tinkling lullaby. Now, it sounded empty, devoid of meaning. With a sigh, she returned the music box to the table. She knew she would never experience "Danny boy" in quite the same way. It would be forever entwined with the memory of Mr. Thompson, his gruff exterior concealing a tender heart, his final smile etching itself into her memory, his last breath still hanging in the air. A sudden sound startled her. A woman stood in the doorway, her face a study in grief and impatience. Dressed in an impeccable suit, her hair sculpted perfectly. "I'm Eleanor Thompson," she announced, her voice sharp and brittle. "I understand my father passed away." Lily nodded, her throat constricted. "Yes, ma'am. My deepest condolences." Eleanor Thompson offered scant acknowledgement. "Where are his things?" she demanded, her eyes sweeping the room. "His belongings?" Lily indicated a small cardboard box on the floor. "Everything is in there, ma'am. Just personal effects." Eleanor Thompson approached cautiously, as though the box might contaminate her. She peered inside, her expression revealing barely suppressed distaste. "Is that it?" she asked, incredulity lacing her tone. "That's all he had?" Lily repressed a sharp response. "Yes, ma'am. That's all." Eleanor Thompson rummaged through the contents, her fingers picking delicately. She extracted a faded photograph, her eyes widening slightly. "Who is this?" she inquired, her voice softened. Lily glanced at the image. A young man in military attire, his face radiant with pride. "That's Mr. Thompson," she replied softly. "In his youth." Eleanor Thompson gazed at the photograph, her expression an unreadable cipher. Then, she tossed it back into the box, her face hardening once more. "Well," she stated brusquely. "I suppose that's that. I'll take these." She lifted the box, her movements stiff and awkward. Lily watched, a sense of anger bubbling within. This woman, a complete stranger, was claiming ownership of Mr. Thompson's life, his memories, his very essence. "Is there anything else, ma'am?" Lily asked, her voice taut. Eleanor Thompson paused at the door, turning back. Her eyes were cold and vacant. "No," she responded. "There's nothing else." With that, she turned and departed, leaving Lily alone in the desolate room, with only the lingering scent of disinfectant and the faint echo of "Danny boy." A quiet farewell. The day dawned in a palette of charcoal and ash, an echo of the hollowness consuming Lily. The crisp lines of her scrubs felt alien against her skin, offering no solace. Within the hospital's normally bustling corridors, a subdued hum replaced the usual symphony of alarms and voices, as if muted by a pervasive sorrow. Every step resonated with Mr. Thompson's absence, each footfall a stark reminder of the vacant room ahead. She paused before room 312, her fingers hesitating above the cold metal of the handle. It felt almost sacrilegious to cross the threshold of a space now emptied of his essence. A bracing breath later, she pushed the door inward. The scent of disinfectant hung heavy, a sterile attempt to banish the faint ghosts of his existence. The bed, stripped bare, sported a pristine white spread in place of the familiar floral pattern. As if he had never occupied it at all, a heartless obliteration of their shared weeks. Drawn to the window, Lily gazed at the city veiled in rain. She recalled Mr. Thompson's fascination with the meteorological ballet, how he'd remark on cloud formations or the angle of the sun. He had discovered beauty in the common threads of life, a fortitude that had both humbled and inspired her. Danny boy drifted through her memory, the melody that had soothed his final moments, a shared, tranquil farewell. A solitary tear escaped, tracing a silent path down her cheek, a tribute to the old soldier. She replayed their conversations in her mind, fragments of his life meticulously shared, the burdens of regret he carried like stones in his pockets. She'd offered what she could, a receptive ear, a comforting touch. Had it been enough? Had she genuinely impacted his final chapter? The familiar ghost of self-doubt haunted her. But then she recalled the ghost of a smile gracing his lips, the pressure of his hand in hers, the undeniable bond that had unfolded between them. It had to suffice. Later that week, beneath a leaden sky on a Wednesday afternoon, Lily stood where the wind whispered secrets through skeletal branches surrounding a humble, time-worn chapel. Mr. Thompson's funeral. Unsure whether she belonged, questioning her right to be there, an invisible cord had pulled her nonetheless, a sense of obligation, or perhaps something deeper, more intimate. She stood apart from the small assembly, feeling like a spectator, an outsider peering into a world not entirely hers. Eleanor, Mr. Thompson's daughter, stood ramrod straight beside a towering, severe-looking man presumed to be her husband. Her face wore a mask of grief tinged with impatience. Clad in an expensive but unflattering black dress, her eyes darted around as if searching for someone, or perhaps something, of greater importance. Besides Eleanor and her husband, the mourners numbered few. Several elderly men, their faces maps of age and loss, most likely comrades from his old regiment. A woman with gentle eyes and a threadbare coat, perhaps a neighbor from his apartment building. The sparse turnout starkly illustrated Mr. Thompson's isolation, confirming the loneliness he had confided. The service was brief, impersonal. The vicar, a stout man with a booming voice, painted Mr. Thompson's life with broad, generalizing strokes, reciting scripture without warmth or resonance. Lily tuned out the trite platitudes, focusing instead on the memory of Mr. Thompson's face, the crinkling at the corners of his eyes when he smiled, the gradual softening that had replaced his initial gruffness. As the coffin descended, Eleanor remained impassive, her expression an unreadable cipher. Lily watched her, a wave of profound sorrow washing over her. She couldn't imagine the sharp pain of a parental loss, nor could she fathom the emotional chasm Eleanor seemed to maintain. The wind intensified, scattering fallen leaves across the hallowed ground. A solitary robin perched upon a headstone, its scarlet breast a vibrant spark against the muted landscape. A lump constricted Lily's throat, a bittersweet blend of mourning for Mr. Thompson and a profound sense of injustice. He deserved so much more. He deserved to be surrounded by affection and warmth, not a handful of strangers and a detached daughter. As the service concluded, Eleanor gave the vicar a clipped nod before making her way to a waiting limousine. Lily hesitated, debating whether to approach her. She longed to express her sympathy, to offer a shared memory of her father, but the words remained trapped. Eleanor paused momentarily, her gaze sweeping over the small gathering before settling on Lily. A flicker of recognition sparked in her eyes, a fleeting acknowledgement of their shared connection to Mr. Thompson. Then the moment vanished, and she turned away, melting into the luxurious black car. Lily lingered, watching the limousine glide away down the winding road. The rain started, a soft drizzle rapidly intensifying into a downpour, cleansing the dust and grime. Shivering, she drew her coat closer. She walked to the raw earth, the mound of soil a stark reminder of Mr. Thompson's final resting place. Kneeling, she retrieved a small, time-worn harmonica from her pocket, the one she'd played for him, the one he seemed to cherish. Closing her eyes, she placed the instrument upon the grave. A silent adieu. A final, personal token to a man who had touched her life in ways she was only beginning to perceive. The rain persisted, soaking the grave, the harmonica, Lily's tear-streaked face. She remained there for a long while, lost in contemplation, until the evening chill penetrated her bones. As she departed the cemetery, a sense of tranquility settled over her. She had done what she could, offering solace and companionship to a lonely old man. And in that act, she had discovered a connection, a purpose, that had enriched her own existence. The world felt subtly transformed. The colors seemed more saturated, the sounds more distinct. Mr. Thompson's passing had been painful, yet profoundly transformative. It had reminded her of life's delicate nature, the paramount importance of human connection, and the healing, comforting power of music. Back in her modest apartment, Lily kindled a candle, its flickering flame casting dancing shapes on the walls. She poured herself a cup of tea, the warmth permeating her. Seated by the window, she observed the rhythmic drumming of rain against the glass. She thought of Mr. Thompson, his stories, his regrets, his quiet strength. She knew he would endure within her heart, a gentle echo of kindness and the resilient spirit of humanity. And she knew, with surprising certainty, she would continue to sing, to offer comfort, to make a difference in the lives of others, one song, one patient, one day at a time. The reading of the will. Lily started her rounds with a nervous flutter in her stomach, a feeling she usually managed to keep at bay with a strong cup of tea and a pep talk to herself in the bathroom mirror. Today, however, the image of Mr. Thompson's daughter, Eleanor, her face a mask of detached indifference at the graveside, kept intruding. She pushed the trolley down the brightly lit corridor, the scent of antiseptic doing little to soothe her disquiet. Morning, Lily. Brenda Macmillan, a nurse known for her sharp tongue and even sharper observational skills, called out from the nurse's station. Brenda's voice was gravelly, worn smooth by years of cigarette smoke and unfiltered opinions. Morning, Brenda, Lily replied, trying for a cheerful tone that didn't quite reach her eyes. Brenda raised a skeptical eyebrow. Rough night? You look like you've seen a ghost. Lily managed a weak smile. Just a bit, reflective. She busied herself checking charts, avoiding Brenda's piercing gaze. She knew Brenda wouldn't let it go, but hoped to delay the inevitable interrogation. Reflecting on what? The meaning of life? The futility of existence? Or maybe just the price of petrol these days? Brenda leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed. Lily sighed. Something like that. She knew she couldn't avoid it forever. It's just, Mr. Thompson's funeral yesterday. It was, sparse. Sparse how? Brenda asked, though Lily suspected she already knew. Brenda knew everything that went on in the hospital, and probably everything that went on in half the town besides. Just, his daughter was there, but she didn't seem grieving. And there were very few others. It felt lonely. Brenda snorted. Old Thompson was a miserable sod. Not surprised he didn't have many friends. Probably drove them all away with his grumbling. Lily bristled. He wasn't miserable. He was complex. And he was kind, in his own way. Brenda shrugged. Whatever you say, Lily. You always did have a soft spot for the difficult ones. She paused, then added, with a touch of unexpected softness, still, it's tough when you see someone go like that. Makes you think. Exactly, Lily said, grateful for the momentary connection. The hospital PA crackled to life, announcing, Lily Bloom, please report to the hospital administration office immediately. Lily Bloom to administration. Lily frowned. That's odd. Brenda raised her eyebrows again, a smirk playing on her lips. Trouble, maybe? Did you accidentally administer a double dose of morphine again? Lily rolled her eyes, but a knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. She couldn't think of any reason why administration would need to see her. I highly doubt that. I'll see you later, Brenda. Don't let them bully you, Lily, Brenda called after her. And if they try to fire you, tell them I'll unionize the whole damn hospital. Lily smiled, appreciating Brenda's gruff support. As she walked towards the administration office, her mind raced. Had she made a mistake? Had someone complained about her care? The possibilities seemed endless, and none of them were good. She arrived at the office, a sterile, brightly lit space that always felt intimidating. Mrs. Davies, the head of administration, a woman with a perpetually pursed mouth and a gaze that could curdle milk, gestured for her to sit. Ms. Bloom, Mrs. Davies said, her voice crisp and formal. Thank you for coming. We have a matter to discuss with you. Mr. Thompson's lawyer, Mr. Abernathy, is here to speak with you regarding his will. Lily's confusion deepened. Mr. Thompson's will? What does that have to do with me? Just then, a man in a dark suit, carrying a briefcase, entered the office. Good morning, ladies. I'm Peter Abernathy, attorney at law. Ms. Bloom, I presume? He extended a hand, and Lily shook it, her heart pounding in her chest. "Please, sit down, Mr. Abernathy," Mrs. Davies said, her tone softening slightly. Mr. Abernathy opened his briefcase and extracted a thick document. "I am here today to read the will of the late Mr. George Thompson. Present are his daughter, Ms. Eleanor Thompson, and Ms. Lily Bloom, who I understand was Mr. Thompson's nurse." Eleanor Thompson, looking even more detached than she had at the funeral, sat rigidly in a chair in the corner of the room. Her expression was unreadable. Mr. Abernathy cleared his throat and began to read the will. The legal jargon washed over Lily, but she picked out a few key phrases: "all my worldly possessions, to be divided among my living relatives." He listed Eleanor and a few distant cousins, each receiving a relatively small percentage of the estate. Lily started to relax, assuming that was the end of it. She had no financial expectations in regards to Mr. Thompson. She was merely there to witness the proceedings because she had known him. Then, Mr. Abernathy continued, "However, the bulk of my estate, consisting of my savings, investments, and the proceeds from the sale of my house, I bequeath to Ms. Lily May Bloom, in gratitude for her kindness, compassion, and the light she brought into my final days." The room fell silent. Lily stared at Mr. Abernathy, her mouth agape. She must have misheard. There was no way. Eleanor Thompson was the first to break the silence. "What? That's impossible. You must be mistaken. My father would never do that." Her voice, previously flat, was now laced with fury. Mrs. Davies, her composure momentarily cracking, sputtered, "There must be some mistake. This is highly irregular." Mr. Abernathy remained calm. "I assure you, there is no mistake. This is a legally binding document, signed and witnessed by Mr. Thompson in sound mind. Ms. Bloom is the primary beneficiary of his estate." Lily was in shock. But why? I don't understand." "Mr. Thompson made his wishes very clear," Mr. Abernathy said, looking at Lily with a hint of sympathy. "He felt that you were the only one who truly cared about him. He wanted to ensure that you were taken care of." Eleanor Thompson stood up abruptly, her face contorted with rage. "This is ridiculous. She's just a nurse. She probably manipulated him, took advantage of his vulnerability. This is outrageous." "Ms. Thompson, I must ask you to calm down," Mr. Abernathy said sternly. "These are Mr. Thompson's wishes, and they will be carried out. I'm going to contest this will," Eleanor declared, her voice shaking with anger. "This is a blatant injustice." Lily, still reeling from the revelation, found her voice. "Please, Ms. Thompson, I don't want your money. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I cared about your father. That's all. Don't lie to me." Eleanor spat. "You're just after the money, like everyone else." She glared at Lily, her eyes filled with venom. Then, she turned and stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind her. Mrs. Davies, regaining her composure, turned to Lily with a look of thinly veiled disapproval. "Ms. Bloom, this is unprecedented. I trust this will not affect your performance here at the hospital." Lily, feeling overwhelmed and bewildered, could only nod numbly. Mr. Abernathy closed his briefcase. "Ms. Bloom, I will be in touch to discuss the details of the estate. In the meantime, I advise you to seek legal counsel. This may become complicated." As Mr. Abernathy left the office, Lily sat there, stunned. She had come to work that morning expecting a normal day, and now she was the primary beneficiary of a dead man's will, facing the wrath of his resentful daughter and the suspicion of her boss. The weight of it all threatened to crush her. Brenda was waiting for her when she returned to the nurse's station, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Well? What was that all about? Did you embezzle hospital funds or something?" Lily sank into a chair, her head in her hands. "You wouldn't believe it, Brenda. You just wouldn't believe it." "Try me," Brenda said, her voice softening. Lily took a deep breath and began to explain, the words tumbling out of her in a rush. As she recounted the events of the reading of the will, Brenda's eyes widened in disbelief. When Lily finished, Brenda was silent for a moment, then she let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned. Old Thompson. An unexpected inheritance. The overhead lights in St. Jude's buzzed with an irritating intensity, grating on Lily's nerves. She adjusted her stethoscope, the cool touch usually a balm, but today it offered scant reassurance. Eleanor Thompson's accusations, the preposterous terms of Mr. Thompson's will, the whole situation weighed on her, each step feeling like a climb uphill. "Mornin', Lily," Brenda Macmillan, the charge nurse, greeted her, voice roughened by cigarettes and sleep deprivation. Usually Brenda just grunted, so Lily knew something was brewing. She was propped against the nurse's station, a chart in hand, her brow creased with a foreboding worry. "Morning, Brenda," Lily responded, striving for a normal tone. "Anything I should know before diving in?" Brenda exhaled a weary sigh, like a slow leak from a punctured tire. "Just, tread lightly today, Lily. You've been through it. And, word's out about you and old Mr. Thompson." Lily's gut tightened. The hospital rumor mill worked faster than any news outlet. "What are they saying?" Brenda hesitated, her gaze softening a fraction. Beneath the tough exterior, Lily knew a good heart resided, heavily fortified though it was. "Just, that he remembered you. Generously. And his family isn't exactly thrilled." Lily managed a weak smile. "Generous is an understatement, Brenda. And thrilled? I'd say, incandescent is closer." Brenda chuckled dryly. "Homicidal tendencies are generally frowned upon around here. But seriously, Lily, watch yourself. The Thompsons strike me as a thorny bunch." "Thanks, Brenda. I appreciate the warning. I'm at a loss." "Just do your job, Lily. Tend to your patients. Let the legal eagles sort out the rest." Brenda gave her shoulder a surprisingly gentle squeeze. "Now, go spread some cheer. Lord knows this place needs it." Lily nodded, trying to absorb Brenda's pragmatic counsel. Easier conceived than achieved. As she headed towards Mrs. Rodriguez, her first patient, her mind spun. What on earth would she do with that kind of windfall? A newer car, perhaps? Eliminate her student debt? The thought felt almost blasphemous, tainted by the circumstances. It was Mr. Thompson's life's work, now, hers? It simply felt wrong. Mrs. Rodriguez, a delightful elderly woman recovering from hip surgery, welcomed Lily with an affectionate smile. "Ah, Lily, my angel. You've come to brighten my day." Lily mirrored the smile, forcing her focus to the present. "How are you feeling today, Mrs. Rodriguez? Any twinges?" As she ministered to Mrs. Rodriguez, Lily tried to banish the inheritance to the recesses of her mind, but it remained, an unwelcome specter. She proceeded through her rounds, dispensing medications, changing bandages, offering solace, all while battling mounting anxiety. The inevitable arrival came that afternoon. As Lily charted at the nurse's station, a crisp, commanding voice sliced through the ward's gentle hum. "Lily Bloom? I need a word." Eleanor Thompson stood before her, her face a study in controlled rage. Her impeccable suit, lavish handbag, and sculpted hairstyle broadcast wealth and status. Lily experienced a sudden pang of inadequacy, a feeling she hadn't confronted since her initial days on the floor. "Ms. Thompson," Lily began, striving for composure. "I was just about to, spare me the pleasantries, Nurse Bloom," Eleanor cut in. "I want to know what you did to my father. How you coaxed him into rewriting his will." Lily's cheeks burned. "I didn't coerce your father, Ms. Thompson. I cared for him. I offered him comfort in his final days." "Comfort? Or opportunity knocking?" You saw a vulnerable, aging man, and you exploited him. It's despicable. Eleanor's tone was laced with acid. Brenda, sensing the growing tension, intervened. Ms. Thompson, I must ask you to keep your voice down. This is a place of healing. Eleanor brushed her aside. Don't imagine you'll get away with this, Nurse Bloom. My attorneys are already building a case. We will contest this will, and we will expose you for what you are, a grasping little opportunist. Lily's hands trembled. She yearned to defend herself, to shout her innocence, but the words caught in her throat. The sheer injustice of the accusation was stifling. Ms. Thompson, I understand your distress, Lily managed, her voice barely audible. But I assure you, I never solicited anything from your father. He was a solitary man. I simply sought to ease his final days. Solitary? He had a family. He had me. Eleanor's voice cracked with a touch of hysteria. But you slithered in and poisoned his mind against us. You filled his head with falsehoods. That's not true, Lily countered weakly, her conviction wavering. Doubt nibbled at her. Had she unwittingly influenced Mr. Thompson? Had her compassion been misconstrued? We'll let the courts decide, Eleanor hissed. In the meantime, I'd advise you to prepare yourself. This isn't finished, Nurse Bloom. Not by a long shot. Eleanor spun on her heel and marched off, leaving Lily reeling. Brenda placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Don't let her rattle you, Lily. She's grieving. And probably a little terrified. Terrified of what? Lily asked, her voice flat. Losing her inheritance? Perhaps. Or maybe scared of realizing she didn't devote enough time to her father when he was around. Brenda's tone held surprising compassion. Lily glanced at Brenda, glimpsing a hint of something beyond cynicism in her eyes. Perhaps Brenda, too, had known the ache of regret, the sting of opportunities lost. I don't know what to do, Brenda, Lily confessed, tears welling up. I feel trapped in a waking nightmare. You'll navigate it, Lily, Brenda said, squeezing her shoulder. You're stronger than you realize. And remember, you have allies here. We'll stand with you. Lily mustered a weak smile. Brenda's words offered a sliver of solace, a lifeline in the storm. Yet, as she scanned the bustling ward, the faces of her patients, she couldn't shake the sensation that her life had been irrevocably altered. The unexpected inheritance had not ushered in ease and joy, but rather discord and accusations. And somehow, she had to navigate this perilous new landscape, to affirm her integrity, and to honor the memory of the old man who had, in his own way, become a friend. The opening bars of Danny Boy drifted into her mind, a poignant reminder of the connection they had forged, a connection now seemingly at the heart of a rancorous dispute. Under suspicion. Lily plastered on a smile, tugging at her cap as her shift began. The air felt heavy, a damp blanket stifling the morning. Breakfast trays rattled in the distance, a mechanical counterpoint to the hospital's hum, but beneath it, a dissonant chord vibrated, a disquiet that seeped into her bones like the pervasive scent of rubbing alcohol. Checking on Mrs. Henderson, she spoke of the garden's prize roses, yet her thoughts remained ensnared by Eleanor Thompson's acid words. Gold digger, the insult echoed, a phantom sound in the sterile environment. Nearing the nurse's station, she spotted Brenda, arms folded, an inscrutable mask on her face. Where warmth usually radiated, a gathering storm now brewed. Lily, a word? My office. The clipped tone, so unlike her mentor's usual affability, sent a shiver down Lily's spine. Of course, Brenda. The cramped space seemed to shrink further under Brenda's intense presence, the stale tang of yesterday's coffee lingered. The door clicked shut, the sound amplified in the close quarters. So, Brenda started, her gaze unwavering, the Thompson will. Enlighten me. Lily swallowed, throat suddenly dry. There's not much to tell. Mr. Thompson altered his will, leaving me a bequest. A rather generous one, I understand. The sharpness in Brenda's voice cut. Yes, Lily conceded, her voice barely audible. And this came as a complete surprise? Utterly. I was stunned, Brenda. Still am. Lily's hands trembled subtly, she clasped them tightly to conceal it. Brenda leaned in, eyes narrowed to slits. Lily, you're an excellent nurse. Damned good. But this casts a long shadow. People are talking. Talking how? A sudden, frantic drumbeat throbbed in Lily's chest. The family, primarily. Eleanor Thompson's glued to the phone, threatening lawsuits, claiming you manipulated her father. That's preposterous. Lily retorted, her voice rising in disbelief. I'd never do that. I cared for Mr. Thompson. I offered him companionship. We shared stories, listened to music, I simply sought to ease his final days. Made him comfortable enough to rewrite his will in your favor? Brenda countered, skepticism heavy in her tone. A wave of nausea crested within Lily. Brenda, you know my character. You know I'm not capable of such a thing. Do I, Lily? Honestly? From the outside, it resembles a classic case of undue influence. A lonely elder, a compassionate, attentive nurse. The optics are terrible. Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. That's unfair. You're condemning me based on appearances. I'm assessing the situation based on a will and a very irate daughter. The hospital's reputation is on the line, Lily. We can't endure a scandal. So, what does that mean? Lily asked, her voice wavering. It means tread carefully. Very carefully. Eleanor Thompson won't let this rest. She's retained counsel. And quite frankly, Lily, you must consider if accepting this inheritance is worth the impending turmoil. It has nothing to do with the money. Lily burst out, her voice cracking. It was about Mr. Thompson. He felt isolated, Brenda. He was afraid. My intention was solely to offer solace. I understand that, Lily. Truly. However, the best intentions are not always enough. Sometimes, they lead to unforeseen complications. Brenda sighed, her expression softening slightly. Look, I'm not alleging wrongdoing. But I need absolute candor. Did you, at any point, suggest he alter his will? Never. I swear, Brenda, I never even broached the subject with him. Brenda scrutinized Lily's face, her gaze sharp and assessing. Very well. I want to believe you, Lily, I genuinely do. But you must comprehend the precarious position you're in. The board is already demanding answers, concerned about the potential repercussions. So, what am I to do? Lily asked, feeling utterly vulnerable. Cooperate fully with any inquiries. Be transparent. And, for heaven's sake, Lily, find a lawyer. You'll need one. Brenda rose, signaling an end to their discussion. Lily stumbled out of the office, feeling as if she'd weathered a physical assault. The weight of Brenda's distrust, the threat of litigation, the censure of the hospital board, it was all too overwhelming. She drifted aimlessly down the corridor, the familiar noises of the hospital now jarring, intrusive. She passed Mrs. Henderson's room, but couldn't muster the strength to enter. The thought of encountering patients, knowing they might regard her differently, might be whispering behind her back, was unbearable. She sought refuge in the deserted supply closet, the sterile scent of disinfectant offering scant comfort to her jangled nerves. Sinking to the floor, she buried her face in her hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had done nothing reprehensible. She had simply tried to show kindness, to provide comfort to a man facing his mortality. And now, she was being labeled a manipulator, a fortune hunter, a threat to the hospital's good name. The melody, It all began with their shared appreciation of music. Their bond, forged over familiar tunes and heartfelt lyrics. Danny boy, now even that lovely ballad felt tarnished, sullied by the accusations and distrust. How could something so innocent, so genuine, have culminated in this? Lily remained in the supply closet for what seemed like an age, the silence broken only by her stifled sobs. When she finally emerged, her eyes were red and swollen, her face ashen. She felt depleted, broken, utterly isolated. She glanced at the duty roster. Her name remained, assigned to her usual rounds. But everything had transformed. The hospital, once a sanctuary of healing and compassion, now felt like hostile territory, teeming with hidden dangers and unspoken allegations. Straightening her cap, she drew a deep breath and forced herself toward the first patient's room. But as she reached for the handle, hesitation gripped her. Could she truly face them? Could she feign normalcy, when her world had been turned on its head? She knew she had to. She was a nurse. People depended on her. But as she stepped inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a snare. She was under suspicion, and its weight threatened to suffocate her. The simple act of caring, the very essence of who she was now being scrutinized with suspicion and cynicism. Seeking guidance. The hospital's hum of fluorescent lighting was a constant companion as Lily navigated the corridor, the subtle friction of her soles against the linoleum barely registering. Mornings normally brought a comforting predictability, a steady rhythm against the day's impending demands. But today, anxiety coiled in her gut, a constricting serpent tightening with each step. Brenda's unsettling words and the sharp accusations of Mr. Thompson's daughter echoed, making progress feel like wading through mud. Checking Mrs. Gable's adjusting Mr. Henderson's bedding, and chatting with Mrs. Rodriguez about her grandson's birthday provided fleeting respite, yet the underlying unease lingered. She longed for sage counsel, a sympathetic ear, someone to validate her conflicting emotions. During her lunch break, Lily sought refuge at her childhood home, a humble bungalow nestled on the town's periphery. The aroma of her mother's baking, cinnamon intertwined with apple, she surmised, spilled outward as she opened the door. Lily May. What a delightful surprise, Martha greeted, wiping flour from her hands onto her well-worn apron. Come in, come in. I'm just about to brew some tea. Stepping inside, Lily felt the house's embrace, a comforting fortress against the turmoil swirling within her. She followed her mother to the kitchen, the melodic chink of cookware a calming counterpoint to her inner anxieties. Are you all right, sweetheart? You seem a little wan, Martha observed, a worried crease appearing on her forehead. Lily hesitated, unsure where to begin. She had kept her silence to shield her mother from the unpleasantness. But the weight was becoming unbearable. Mom, I need to tell you something, she started, her voice barely a whisper. She unburdened herself, recounting the events of the past days, Mr. Thompson's passing, the will's revelation, the unexpected inheritance, and the daughter's cutting indictment. With each word, the knot in her stomach tightened, and tears threatened to spill. Martha listened intently, her expression a carefully guarded mask. When Lily finished, she clasped her daughter's hand, her touch radiating warmth and reassurance. Oh, Lily May, she murmured. That's quite a lot to absorb. She paused thoughtfully. You know, your father always declared you possessed the kindest heart he'd ever encountered. You wouldn't harm a soul, let alone manipulate someone for financial gain. Lily sniffled, a watery smile gracing her lips. But what if they don't believe me? What if they revoke my license? Then we'll confront them at every turn, Martha declared, her voice unwavering. We know the truth, and that's what truly matters. And never discount all the good you accomplish, Lily. Mr. Thompson wasn't the first, nor will he be the last, to find solace in your care. She squeezed Lily's hand. You acted according to your conscience, honey. You offered that old man comfort in his twilight hours. There's no shame in that. And if he wished you to inherit that money, then you deserve it. Lily spent the afternoon with her mother, sharing stories, laughter, and cherished memories. Martha's unwavering support was a beacon, reminding her she wasn't alone in the coming battle. Later that evening, Lily sought solace with her closest confidants, Chloe and Sarah, at their usual haunt, a charming Italian eatery nestled downtown. The rich fragrance of garlic and oregano hung in the air, a delightful contrast to the antiseptic scent of the hospital. "All right, give us the scoop," Chloe prompted, leaning forward, curiosity etched on her face. "Brenda called me, you know. Said you were embroiled in some kind of drama. Something about a windfall?" Lily sighed, launching into the narrative once more, the details becoming achingly familiar, though the sting of the accusations dulled with each recitation. Chloe, ever pragmatic, listened with sharp attention, occasionally interjecting with pointed questions. Sarah, the more emotionally attuned of the pair, reached across the table and gently squeezed Lily's hand. "That's terrible, Lily," she sympathized, her brow creased with concern. "But you know we're in your corner, right? Whatever you require." "Absolutely," Chloe affirmed. "We'll serve as character witnesses. We'll attest that such an act is entirely beyond your capabilities." Lily smiled, gratitude washing over her. "Thanks, you guys. I don't know where I'd be without you." "Seriously, though," Chloe continued, settling back in her chair. "What's the plan? Are you going to contest this?" Lily hesitated. "It all feels so messy. I don't want to stir up more trouble." "But you can't let them trample all over you," Sarah countered. "Mr. Thompson wanted you to have that money. You must respect his wishes." Chloe nodded emphatically. "And you need to clear your name, Lily. You can't allow them to besmirch your reputation. You're an exceptional nurse, and you deserve far better than this." Their words resonated deeply. She had been so consumed by the accusations, by the potential fallout, that she had nearly forgotten Mr. Thompson and his intentions. He had confided in her, recognizing a quality within her that others had overlooked. She couldn't betray his trust. "You're right," she affirmed, her voice regaining strength. "I must fight. For myself, for Mr. Thompson, for everything I hold dear." As the evening progressed, Lily experienced a resurgence of resolve. The unwavering support of her friends, combined with her mother's steadfast belief, had fortified her to confront the challenges ahead. It wouldn't be easy, she knew, but she wasn't facing it alone. Back in her apartment, Lily sat at her modest kitchen table, the day's events swirling in her mind like a tempest. She picked up her guitar, its familiar weight grounding her. She had neglected it for days, the suffocating stress stifling her creative spirit. She strummed a few chords, the sound hesitant initially, then growing bolder, more assured. Closing her eyes, she began to sing, her voice pure and strong, filling the small space with melody. She chose an old wartime ballad that Mr. Thompson had cherished, "Danny Boy," allowing the music to envelop her, purging the doubt and fear that had taken root. As she sang, she recalled Mr. Thompson, his rough exterior concealing a profound sorrow. She remembered his passion for music, his yearning for connection, his subtle appreciation for her attentiveness. She understood that the money was inconsequential. It was about honoring his memory, about safeguarding his faith in her. Upon finishing, a sense of tranquility descended upon her. She knew the path ahead would be arduous, but she was prepared. She had her family, her friends, and her music to sustain her. And she had Mr. Thompson's memory to guide her. Taking a deep breath, she opened her eyes, a newfound determination gleaming within them. She was Lily May Bloom, and she would not yield. She would defend her integrity, her livelihood, and the memory of the old man who had recognized something special within her. She would seek legal counsel, as Brenda had suggested, but the moral compass she needed had already been firmly established. A lifelong dream. A lightness buoyed Lily as she began her rounds, a feeling absent for weeks. Her mother's steadfast support, coupled with the unwavering loyalty of her friends, had soothed the sting of the accusations leveled against her. Today, she was more than just Nurse Bloom, she was Lily, a zealous advocate for a dream nearly forgotten. Yet, as she approached her first patient, a coil of apprehension tightened in her belly. She tamped it down, centering herself on the immediate task, a bright greeting, a comforting touch, and a meticulous assessment of Mrs. Gable's post-operative discomfort. The morning dissolved in a flurry of medication rounds, dressing changes, and words of solace. As the lunch hour neared, anticipation quickened her pulse. She had arranged coverage for the afternoon. Today was dedicated to research. The local library, a venerable edifice of time-worn stone, stood sentinel against the coastal winds. Within its walls, the air, redolent with the scent of aged paper and hushed reverence, hung still. Lily inhaled deeply, finding solace in the familiar aroma. Though years had passed since her college days, the quietude offered a strange comfort. She approached the information desk, a hesitant smile gracing her lips. "Excuse me," she addressed the librarian, a kindly woman with eyes magnified by spectacles. "I'm seeking information about a former resident, Mr. Arthur Thompson." The librarian tapped at her keyboard. "Thompson. Arthur Thompson. Let's see. Any specifics? Dates, occupation, anything to help narrow the search?" "He was a lifelong resident," Lily replied. "A veteran of World War II, and a passionate music lover, particularly of older tunes." The librarian nodded, her fingers flying across the keys. "World War II veteran, music aficionado. That's helpful. Our local history archive is quite extensive." After a brief wait, the librarian directed her attention to the screen. "Here's a record for an Arthur Thompson, war veteran, residing on Willow Creek Road. Does that sound correct?" "That's him." Relief washed over Lily. "Excellent. I've earmarked relevant articles and records, mostly on microfilm. The stations are over there," she indicated a row of machines in the corner. "Please don't hesitate to ask if you need assistance." The microfilm reader sputtered to life, bathing the screen in a ghostly light. With meticulous care, Lily threaded the first reel, her fingers gingerly handling the delicate film. The images flickered past, faded photographs of local businesses, announcements of bygone events, glimpses into the rhythms of everyday life from another era. The hours vanished as Lily navigated the digitized newspapers. She meticulously combed through articles about the war, searching for any trace of Arthur Thompson's presence. She unearthed fleeting mentions of his enlistment and his homecoming, yet nothing that illuminated the man she had known during his final days. Disappointment threatened to engulf her. Just as she was about to concede defeat, a headline seized her attention: "Local veteran organizes benefit concert for children's music program." The article was dated 1952. Her heart leaped. With trembling hands, she magnified the image. There, in a grainy black and white photograph, stood a younger Arthur Thompson, his face radiant with joy as he stood beside a group of children clutching musical instruments. Even in the imperfect image, his eyes mirrored the same warmth and generosity she remembered. Lily devoured the article, absorbing Thompson's vision, the creation of a music scholarship fund for underprivileged children in the community. He believed music held the power to transform lives, offering solace, inspiration, and a pathway to a brighter future. The concert had been a resounding success, generating substantial funds. Yet, the article also alluded to obstacles: bureaucratic red tape, inconsistent funding, and ultimately, the program's collapse. A wave of profound sadness enveloped Lily. This was it, the key to understanding Mr. Thompson, the reason behind his quiet melancholy, the unrealized aspiration that had lingered in his heart for decades. He hadn't spoken of it directly, yet she understood, intuitively, that the program's failure had left a deep scar. Her continued research revealed scattered mentions of Arthur Thompson's continued endeavors to revitalize the program, including letters to the editor, modest contributions to musical charities, and a reference to him teaching himself the harmonica in his twilight years. His passion for music remained undimmed, even as his dream faded. Lily printed the article, her mind swirling with possibilities. The inheritance, it was about more than mere money. It was about realizing Mr. Thompson's lifelong ambition, about amplifying the music that resided within him, even in death, and proving that his life, his passions, and his kindness had resonated. An idea ignited within her, a beacon of hope amidst the legal turmoil. She wouldn't merely defend herself against the accusations, she would honor Mr. Thompson's memory in a manner that would silence the skeptics and uplift the community. She would establish the Arthur Thompson Music Scholarship Fund. Departing the library, Lily moved with newfound resolve. The crisp sea air invigorated her, and the setting sun bathed the sky in vibrant hues of orange and gold. She held the newspaper clipping close, a tangible reminder of the promise she had made, not only to Mr. Thompson, but to herself. Back in her apartment, Lily spread the newspaper article across her kitchen table. She studied it repeatedly, absorbing every detail. She began to formulate a plan, outlining the necessary steps to establish the scholarship fund. Consultations with legal counsel, financial experts, and members of the local arts community would be essential. It would be a formidable undertaking, yet she was resolute in her commitment. As she worked, Lily recalled Mr. Thompson's fragile voice singing, "Danny Boy." The melody reverberated in her mind, a poignant testament to music's capacity to transcend pain and sorrow. It was more than a song, it was a bond, a shared human moment that had united them. A sense of profound peace settled over her, knowing she could honor his memory in such a meaningful way. She anticipated strong opposition from Mr. Thompson's daughter, a protracted and arduous legal battle. Yet Lily was no longer afraid. She possessed a purpose, a mission, a reason to fight. And she would not yield. The Thompson Music Scholarship. The fluorescent lights of St. Jude's hummed a familiar tune as Lily began her rounds, the squeak of her shoes echoing in the quiet corridors. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach, a persistent reminder of the legal storm brewing. But beneath the apprehension, a current of determination flowed, fueled by Mr. Thompson's memory and the promise she'd made to herself. She found Brenda McMillan, the charge nurse, at the nurse's station, meticulously reviewing patient charts. Brenda's brow was furrowed, her lips pressed into a thin line, a clear indication she was in "don't bother me" mode. "Morning, Brenda," Lily said, forcing a cheerful tone. Brenda looked up, her expression softening slightly. "Morning, Lily. You seem bright. Considering." "Considering what?" Lily asked, feigning innocence. Brenda sighed, pushing a stray strand of graying hair behind her ear. "Don't play coy with me. The Thompson situation. The lawyers. The daughter." "Ah, that," Lily said, tapping a pen against her clipboard. "Well, I have some news about that, actually." Brenda raised a skeptical eyebrow. "Oh? I've decided what I'm going to do with the inheritance," Lily announced, taking a deep breath. "I'm establishing a scholarship fund. In Mr. Thompson's name." Brenda stared at her, her jaw slack. "A scholarship fund? Are you serious?" "Lily, that's incredibly generous. And incredibly foolish." "Foolish?" Lily's smile faltered. "Yes, foolish," Brenda exclaimed, her voice rising slightly. "You're practically handing ammunition to Thompson's daughter. She'll use it as proof that you were manipulating him, trying to ingratiate yourself." "But that's not true," Lily protested, her voice laced with frustration. "It's about honoring Mr. Thompson's memory, fulfilling a dream he had." "And what was this dream?" Brenda asked, her arms crossed. "He always wanted to start a music program for children. He talked about it all the time. How music could change their lives, give them an outlet, Lily explained, her voice softening as she recalled Mr. Thompson's wistful stories. He even tried to start one, years ago, but it never took off. Lily, I understand you're trying to do something good, but you're being naive, Brenda said, her voice laced with concern. This isn't some feel-good movie. This is real life. And real life is messy and complicated and filled with greedy people. I know it is, Lily said, her voice firm. But I can't let that stop me. Mr. Thompson trusted me. He wanted to leave the world a little brighter. And this is how I can do that. You could donate to a hospital wing. Or fund cancer research. Things that would make you look less suspect, Brenda argued, her pragmatism evident. Those are wonderful causes, Brenda, truly. But this is about Mr. Thompson. About fulfilling his vision. It's not about making myself look good or deflecting suspicion, Lily said, her gaze unwavering. It's about music. About giving young people the chance to explore their talents, to find joy and solace in melody. Something Mr. Thompson wanted to share with the world. Brenda remained unconvinced. I still think you're making a mistake. You're just inviting more trouble. Maybe, Lily conceded. But it's a risk I'm willing to take. She moved towards the medication cart, the metallic scent of antiseptic filling her nostrils. As she sorted the pills, she thought of Mr. Thompson humming "Danny Boy," his eyes twinkling with a distant joy. She remembered the stories he'd told her about learning to play the harmonica as a boy, about the power of music to lift spirits during the darkest of times. The knot in her stomach tightened again, but this time, it was laced with a sense of purpose. She imagined young musicians, their faces alight with passion, their instruments singing with newfound confidence, all thanks to the Thompson Music Scholarship. Later that morning, Lily found herself drawn to the hospital chapel. The stained-glass windows cast kaleidoscopic patterns on the polished wooden floor, creating an atmosphere of serenity. She sat in one of the pews, closing her eyes and taking a deep breath. She wasn't particularly religious, but the chapel offered a quiet respite from the noise and stress of the hospital. She thought of Mr. Thompson, of his gruff exterior and his hidden tenderness. She wondered if he was watching her, if he approved of her decision. A melody drifted into her mind, the familiar strains of "Danny Boy." She hummed softly, her voice barely audible above the gentle hum of the air conditioning. The song filled her with a bittersweet mixture of sadness and hope. Sadness for the loss of Mr. Thompson, for the pain he had carried for so long. Hope for the future, for the young musicians who would benefit from his generosity, for the legacy he would leave behind. As she walked out of the chapel, Lily felt a renewed sense of determination. The legal battle might be daunting, the accusations hurtful, but she wouldn't back down. She would fight for Mr. Thompson's memory, for his dream, for the healing power of music. She would create the Thompson Music Scholarship, and she would make sure it flourished, a testament to the kindness and generosity of a man who had, in his own quiet way, changed her life forever. She pulled out her phone, dialing the number of her lawyer. It was time to start the paperwork. A community rallies. Lily started her rounds with a lighter step than she had in weeks. The morning sun, fractured by the leaves outside the hospital window, painted dancing patterns on the linoleum floor. She inhaled deeply, the antiseptic scent of the hospital strangely comforting today, a stark contrast to the floral perfume of the get-well bouquets that lined the corridors. She was halfway through checking Mrs. Gable's vitals when Brenda, her face flushed, practically burst into the room, waving a newspaper. "Lily, have you seen this?" Lily, startled, nearly dropped the blood pressure cuff. "Seen what, Brenda? Is everything all right?" Brenda thrust the newspaper into her hands. Folded open, a headline screamed, "Nurses' Generosity Sparks Music Scholarship, Honoring a Veteran's Dream." Below, a picture of Lily, a candid shot taken at the hospital fundraiser, showed her smiling, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached her eyes. Lily's breath hitched. She scanned the article, her eyes darting across the printed words. It detailed her connection with Mr. Thompson, his lifelong love for music, and her decision to use the inheritance to establish the scholarship. It painted a picture of her as a selfless caregiver, driven by compassion and a desire to honor a dying man's wishes. "Oh, my," she whispered, feeling a mixture of relief and trepidation wash over her. Relief that the truth was finally out there, but trepidation about the reaction it would provoke. "It's all over social media too," Brenda said, her voice brimming with excitement. "People are sharing it like crazy. And the comments. Lily, they're incredible." Lily spent the rest of her shift trying to focus on her patients, but her mind kept drifting back to the article. She stole moments between tasks to peek at her phone, scrolling through the online comments. They were overwhelmingly positive. People praised her selflessness, lauded Mr. Thompson's legacy, and expressed their gratitude for her commitment to the community. Some even shared their own stories of loss and the comfort they found in music. One comment, in particular, stood out: "My grandfather was a veteran too. He used to sing 'Danny Boy' every night before bed." This scholarship is a beautiful way to remember those who served and to keep their music alive. The weight of Mr. Thompson's memory settled gently on her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a source of strength. As she walked home that evening, the setting sun casting long shadows on the sidewalk, she noticed a small bouquet of flowers on her doorstep. Tucked inside was a handwritten note: "Thank you for honoring Mr. Thompson. He was a good man, and he deserved to be remembered." It was signed simply, "A neighbor." The next morning, Lily's phone started ringing before her alarm even went off. It was Mrs. Peterson, a former patient, her voice choked with emotion. "Lily, dear, I just wanted to tell you how wonderful you are. You're an angel. Mr. Thompson was lucky to have you." Then came calls from other patients, from nurses she worked with, from people she hadn't spoken to in years. Each call echoed the same sentiment: gratitude, admiration, and support. The letters started arriving too, filling her mailbox each day. Some were from local musicians, offering their services to the scholarship program. Others were from parents, eager to enroll their children. Still others were from complete strangers, moved by her story and wanting to contribute to the cause. One letter contained a small, crumpled $20 bill. The accompanying note read, "I can't give much, but I hope this helps a child learn to play the piano. My own dreams were never realized. Donated by a fellow admirer." The outpouring of support was overwhelming, a tidal wave of kindness that washed away the negativity and doubt that had been plaguing her. The community was rallying around her, embracing Mr. Thompson's legacy and celebrating the power of music. Even the local bakery, Sweet Surrender, got in on the act, creating a special, Mr. Thompson's Melody, cupcake, a vanilla cupcake with a swirl of caramel frosting and a miniature chocolate music note on top. A portion of the proceeds from each cupcake sold went to the scholarship fund. But amidst the outpouring of support, a discordant note emerged. A curt letter arrived from Brenda Thompson's lawyer, reiterating their intention to contest the will and accusing Lily of exploiting Mr. Thompson's vulnerability. Lily sighed, the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. The legal battle was far from over. Despite this, Lily felt a surge of determination. The community's support had given her a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer just fighting for herself, she was fighting for Mr. Thompson's legacy, for the young musicians who would benefit from the scholarship, and for the belief that even in the face of adversity, kindness and compassion could prevail. Later that week, Lily received an invitation to speak at a local Rotary Club meeting. Hesitantly, she accepted. Standing before the assembled members, she spoke from the heart, sharing stories of Mr. Thompson, his love for music, and her vision for the scholarship. Her voice, though initially trembling, grew stronger as she spoke, fueled by the passion that burned within her. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. A woman approached her, tears in her eyes. "My son is a talented violinist," she said. He's always dreamed of attending a prestigious music camp, but we could never afford it. This scholarship, it could change his life. Lily smiled, her heart overflowing with gratitude. She knew then that she was on the right path, that she was honoring Mr. Thompson's memory in the best way possible. The legal battle might continue, the accusations might persist, but she would not be deterred. She had a community behind her, a legacy to uphold, and a song to sing. A change of heart. Lily May Bloom commenced her Wednesday rounds with a prickle of apprehension beneath her ribs, a stark contrast to the cheerful sun flooding the ward. The Thompson Music Scholarship article had circulated for almost a week, and while the community's enthusiasm had been a bomb, Brenda Macmillan, the head nurse, remained conspicuously silent. Lily worried this implied disapproval. Straightening her pristine uniform, she inhaled deeply, reaffirming her commitment. She had vowed to Mr. Thompson to honor his wishes, and his daughter's animosity wouldn't sway her. The morning hurtled by in a whirl of dispensing medications, tending wounds, and checking vitals. Lily frequently darted glances toward Brenda, attempting to decipher her disposition. Brenda remained impassive, her face a carefully constructed facade of professionalism. Later, during her lunch break, a sound snagged her attention. In the staff lounge, reheating leftover pasta, she heard a violin's melody, hesitant yet clear, seeping from the corridor. Intrigued, she abandoned her lunch and followed the sound. It emanated from the hospital's small chapel, usually a haven for quiet contemplation. Peering inside, Lily saw Brenda seated in a pew, back rigid, listening intently. Up front, a young woman, barely 20, practiced scales. Sunlight kissed the instrument, making it glow like burnished copper. Lily recognized Sarah Chen, one of the scholarship's inaugural recipients. She recalled Sarah's application, a sincere expression of her lifelong ambition to become a concert violinist, an aspiration nearly crushed by economic hardship. Sarah paused, a furrow creasing her brow. She inhaled, then resumed playing. This time, the music surged forth, the notes intertwining into a vibrant sonic tapestry that filled the chapel. It was a simple tune, yet Sarah imbued it with such passion and certainty that it brought a sting to Lily's eyes. Brenda remained still, her gaze fixed on Sarah. Lily couldn't discern her expression, but sensed a change in her manner, a thawing of her stern posture. The music seemed to envelop her, dissolving the protective barriers she had constructed. Lily quietly slipped back to the lounge, her meal untouched. She had a feeling of an invisible shift. The afternoon felt less burdened. Brenda still kept a professional distance, but with a glint of something akin to kindness in her eyes. Lily noticed Brenda lingering longer than necessary at the nurse's station bulletin board, now plastered with thank-you notes for Lily and newspaper articles about the scholarship, her eyes scanning them with a cryptic look. As Lily prepared to clock out, Brenda approached, her steps measured. The hallway's fluorescent glow cast stark shadows on her features, accentuating lines of fatigue and, perhaps regret. "Lily," Brenda began, her tone uncharacteristically subdued. "Could I have a word?" Lily's pulse quickened. She nodded, steeling herself for criticism. They relocated to an empty break room, the silence thick with unspoken thoughts. Brenda shut the door, her movements deliberate. She turned, her expression sober. I owe you an apology," she confessed, her voice barely audible. Lily gaped in astonishment. Brenda Macmillan, offering an apology? It was virtually unheard of. "I was wrong, Lily," Brenda continued, her gaze meeting Lily's. "About the scholarship, about everything. I fixated on the liability, the potential repercussions, that I failed to see, the inherent good." Brenda hesitated, searching for the right phrasing. "After reading the article, I felt disturbed, but couldn't articulate why. I assumed you were being idealistic, perhaps even manipulative." She paused, glancing down at her hands. "But then I overheard Sarah Chen playing in the chapel." Brenda looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. That girl, she played with such raw emotion, such conviction. It was breathtaking. It reminded me of my own daughter, who traded her cello for motherhood. I had pressed her relentlessly to achieve perfection, but I never grasped how deeply music could resonate. Brenda's voice faltered, and she paused to regain composure. Seeing Sarah, hearing her play, it dawned on me what Mr. Thompson's donation was achieving. It wasn't merely about technique, it was about enabling someone to pursue their passion, to share their talent. It was about possibility. Brenda inhaled deeply, her shoulders relaxing slightly. I was so jaded, so preoccupied with protocol, that I lost sight of what truly mattered. You, Lily, you recognized the kindness within Mr. Thompson, and you honored his intention. I should have been in your corner from the outset. Lily was rendered speechless. She had anticipated anger, resentment, maybe even a reprimand. But not this. Brenda, she said softly, it's all right. I understand. It's been a stressful time for everyone. No, it isn't all right, Brenda insisted, shaking her head. I allowed my apprehension and skepticism to distort my judgment. I should have had faith in you. You're an exceptional nurse, Lily, a kind and empathetic soul. And you're creating something extraordinary with this scholarship. Brenda reached out and clasped Lily's hand, her grip surprisingly firm. I'm still concerned about the legal challenge from Mr. Thompson's daughter. But I pledge to support you in any way possible. I'll testify if required. I'll do whatever's necessary to help you safeguard this scholarship. A surge of relief washed over Lily, nearly buckling her. She squeezed Brenda's hand, tears prickling her eyes. Thank you, Brenda, she said, her voice thick with emotion. That means the world to me. Brenda offered a small, weary smile. Just promise me one thing, Lily. Anything, Lily replied. Promise me you'll reserve a seat for me at the scholarship concert. Lily smiled, a radiant smile that lit up her eyes. I promise, Brenda. You'll have the best seat in the house. As Lily exited the hospital that evening, the knot of anxiety had completely unwound. The setting sun streaked the sky with vibrant colors, and the air carried the sweet perfume of jasmine. She felt tranquil in a way she hadn't felt in weeks. The journey ahead might still present challenges, but she knew she wasn't navigating it alone. She had the community's support, the recipient's gratitude, and now, Brenda McMillan's unexpected assistance. And that, she understood, was invaluable. Forgiveness and gratitude. The silence after Brenda's words felt different, almost buoyant. The air in the cramped break room, typically heavy with unspoken anxieties and the sharp tang of antiseptic, seemed to thin and brighten. Lily truly saw Brenda then, beyond the starched exterior, the severe bun, and the perpetual air of command. She registered the delicate web of lines around her eyes, the barely perceptible tremor in her fingers as she gripped her coffee. She saw a woman burdened by the hospital's woes, its patience, for far too many years. Thank you, Brenda, Lily murmured. It means the world to me. Brenda met her gaze, a fleeting vulnerability flickering within. I misjudged you, Lily May. The scholarship. Everything, I suppose. Losing patience, it calcifies you. You anticipate the worst, suspecting ill intent everywhere. I let that blind me to your actions, to Mr. Thompson's wishes. Lily nodded, understanding blooming. It's all right, Brenda. I understand. This job, it exacts a price. I felt resentment initially, but then. I considered your dedication, your deep caring, even when hidden. A subtle smile played on Brenda's lips, barely there. Don't breathe a word of that to anyone, she grumbled, attempting to regain her composure. Lily chuckled softly. Mum's the word. The stiff atmosphere between them loosened further, replaced by a fragile camaraderie. Brenda sipped her coffee, then placed the mug down with a sharp click of finality. So, this scholarship enlightened me about Mr. Thompson's connection to music. I knew he was a veteran, but the musical affinity escapes me. Lily's face illuminated. He wasn't a player himself. But he cherished it. Particularly the melodies from the war era. Danny Boy resonated with him. He claimed it evoked memories of home, of simpler times, before life took its harsh turn. She paused, recalling the afternoons spent singing with Mr. Thompson, the joyful spark in his eyes, the subtle curve of his lips. Music, it granted him solace, I believe. It aided him in recalling pleasant moments, in momentarily eclipsing the torment. Brenda leaned forward, her face softening with newfound interest. He rarely discussed the war. Just the standard gripes about the food and the downpours. I wish I'd been more perceptive. I wish I had inquired. Regret hung like a shroud in the space between them. Lily reached out, gently touching Brenda's forearm. It's okay, Brenda. You were stretched thin. You dedicated yourself to everyone else's care. He understood. But is that really sufficient, is it? Brenda sighed deeply. We become consumed by the routine, the medications, the protocols, and we lose sight of the individuals behind the ailments. We overlook their histories, their existences, their music. She regarded Lily, determination kindling in her eyes. I want to be of assistance, Lily May. With the scholarship. In any capacity. Lily's heart swelled with gratitude. That would be invaluable, Brenda. I've been juggling everything solo, and it's been overwhelming. I can manage the administrative aspects, Brenda suggested. The documentation, the timetables, the correspondence with the students. I excel at that. Lily grinned. You're unparalleled at that. Brenda's lips twitched with another ghost of a smile. Don't flatter me unduly. But I'm serious, I am here to assist. I could also contact the local music academies, scout out any prospective scholarship recipients. And I could assist with the fundraising efforts. We might organize a recital, perhaps showcase the students' talents. Ideas began to cascade forth, each building on the previous one. Lily and Brenda spent the following hour brainstorming, their initial awkwardness evaporating into a mutual sense of purpose. They refined the application guidelines, the selection standards, the types of instruments to be supported. They devised potential fundraising campaigns, ranging from modest bake sales to grander concerts showcasing regional musicians. As they conferred, Lily discerned that Brenda's support transcended mere practicality. It validated Mr. Thompson's legacy, acknowledging the profound impact he had exerted on their lives. It signaled that even within the sterile, frequently impersonal confines of the hospital, compassion and empathy could still flourish. Before Lily departed, Brenda placed a hand firmly on her shoulder. Lily May, my assessment of you was so far off the mark, and I hope to contribute to setting matters right. Lily flashed her a brilliant smile. Then we shall, together. Back in her humble apartment, Lily felt a weight dissipate. The forthcoming legal skirmish with Mr. Thompson's daughter still cast a shadow, but the encouragement from Brenda, the revived faith in the scholarship's mission, infused her with the fortitude to confront whatever challenges awaited. She booted up her laptop and began to compose an email to the scholarship committee, outlining the fresh concepts and the added backing she had secured. As she typed, she envisioned Mr. Thompson, his passion for music, his yearning to uplift others. She pictured him smiling, a twinkle dancing in his gaze, as he absorbed the sounds of young musicians filling the atmosphere with their artistry and fervor. She closed her eyes briefly, and she could almost perceive it, the soaring strains of a violin, the delicate arpeggios of a guitar, the hopeful cadences of young voices singing their hearts out. It was a symphony of absolution and thankfulness, a testament to the enduring strength of music and the transformative capacity of human connection. And, more than anything, it was a vow to Mr. Thompson, a solemn promise that his legacy would persevere, not just in the guise of a scholarship, but in the lives of the budding musicians he had inspired. She knew, with profound conviction, that he would have been immeasurably proud. A song remembered. A palpable buzz electrified the community hall. Tonight marked the culmination of months of work, Brenda's steadfast advocacy, and the efforts of countless others, the debut of the Mr. Thompson Memorial Music Scholarship Concert. Backstage, bathed in the gentle incandescence of the stage lights, Lily felt a tremor in her usually unwavering hands as she smoothed her simple, cornflower blue dress, a shade reminiscent of Mr. Thompson's garden. The orchestra's tuning, at first a discordant clamor, coalesced into a strangely soothing prelude. She could almost hear Mr. Thompson's wry chuckle, his imagined voice remarking, "Sounds like a gaggle of geese preparing for flight, Lily May?" A wave of sweet sorrow resonated within her. The concert itself unfolded as a vibrant tapestry of youthful promise. A string quartet, their faces radiant with dedication, delivered a spirited rendition of Mozart. A young pianist, barely past adolescence, held the audience spellbound with the delicate beauty of a Chopin nocturne. Each performance underscored music's profound impact, a tangible expression of Mr. Thompson's dedication to fostering burgeoning talent. From the wings, Lily observed, her heart brimming with pride and thankfulness. Brenda squeezed her arm. "They're magnificent, Lily. You've created something truly remarkable." Lily smiled, her voice a little choked. "It was a collaborative effort, Brenda. None of this would have materialized without your help." As the intermission drew near, a familiar anxiety coiled in Lily's stomach. Her own performance loomed. It had been years since she last sang publicly, back in her small hometown's church choir. This evening wasn't about showcasing her vocal abilities, though. It was a tribute to Mr. Thompson, a sharing of their shared song during his final days. During the break, Lily sought refuge in a quiet alcove, closing her eyes to inhale deeply. She conjured Mr. Thompson's visage, the amiable crinkles around his eyes when mirth danced there, the gentle cadence of his fingers drumming on the bed in time with the music. She recalled the nights she had spent by his bedside, weaving "Danny Boy" into the quiet, the melody a soothing balm. The stage manager's voice sliced through her reverie. "Lily, 5 minutes." She affirmed with a firm nod, resolve hardening. The walk to the stage felt like a pilgrimage. The spotlight assaulted her vision as she stepped onto the stage. Expectant faces stretched before her, a blurred mosaic in the dimness. She spied Brenda in the front row, her expression a beacon of support. The orchestra began "Danny Boy." The deeply familiar melody swept through the hall, quelling the audience's buzz. Lily shut her eyes for a beat, allowing the music to envelop her, fortifying her. Upon reopening them, she trained her gaze on a point above the crowd, imagining Mr. Thompson seated there, a silent listener. Her voice, initially fragile, gained strength and lucidity as she began. Each syllable resonated with memory, with her deep affection for Mr. Thompson, and with the song's heartbreaking beauty. "Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen, and down the mountainside. The summer's gone, and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide." As she sang, she noticed tear-streaked faces in the crowd. Veterans stood a little taller, their eyes reflecting a complex mix of grief and remembrance. Young listeners absorbed the song's meaning, their faces reflecting curiosity and respect. With each verse, the song transcended a simple tune, it grew into a narrative, a veneration, a heartfelt plea. It was a song pregnant with loss and yearning, love and hope, and the resilience of the human spirit. "But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny Boy, I love you so." As the last note dissipated, silence descended on the hall. Then, a lone clap pierced the quiet, followed by an upwelling of applause that surged through the space. People rose as one, their faces awash with emotion. Lily stood, bathed in the spotlight's warmth, her heart overflowing. She stepped forward, her voice clear and resonant. This scholarship, this concert, stands as a testament to Mr. Thomas Thompson's life. He was a veteran, a soul of unparalleled kindness, and a believer in music's power to mend and uplift. He cherished this song, and I hope that tonight, as we honor his memory, we also honor all those who have dedicated themselves to defending our nation, those who have made sacrifices for our freedom. The applause intensified, a wave of gratitude washing over her. Lily caught sight of Brenda wiping her eyes, her gaze sparkling with pride. She saw the young musicians, their faces illuminated with inspiration, their aspirations stoked by the generosity of a man they never knew. After the show, well-wishers gravitated towards Lily, eager to recount their stories, their memories, and their appreciation. Many were veterans themselves, or connected to veterans through family, who had been deeply affected by her rendition. An old man, tears blurring his vision, approached her. "My brother, he served in the war," he managed, his voice wavering. "He adored that song. Thank you for singing it." Lily clasped his hand, her heart aching with empathy. "It was truly my honor," she answered. As the crowd dispersed, Lily remained on the stage, the hall now hushed and cavernous. She turned her gaze upward, imagining Mr. Thompson occupying one of the empty seats, smiling down. She knew that his legacy would persist, not only through the scholarship fund, but also through the lives of the aspiring musicians it would touch, and in the memories of all whose lives he had graced with his kindness. She had weathered accusations and questions, but throughout, she had remained steadfast to her values, to her promise to Mr. Thompson. She had proven her integrity, both to others and to herself. The melodies of the evening still resonated in the air, a profound reminder of art's restorative qualities, the enduring fortitude of humanity, and the unique connection between a caregiver and her patient, forged through shared song and profound empathy. The song lingered, a reminder, and with it, a legacy of kindness blossomed.